All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, recording at you live from Mount Akagi because
I thought
we
it was
watched
Akira.
Akagi.
No, it's Akira, right?
No, it's Mount Akagi.
Okay, never mind.
Oh man,
It's a beautiful mountain, by the way.
we watched Initial D, guys. The movie, the 2005 movie.
Yeah.
3 directors on this movie.
What?
Directed by Andrew Lau, Alan Mack, and Ralph Reichman. Ralph was a co-director listed on IMDb. Starring Anthony Chow Song Wong, Edison Chen, and Jay Chu. Shu. I believe it's actually pronounced Shu.
It was such
I
an
apologize
epic-
for all of the mispronunciations that are going to come with this movie because this is our first foreign movie, foreign
Yes,
film,
it really is.
subtitled.
Subtitled.
Subs, not dubs.
We are.
That's a big deal in the anime community.
I know, but that's and it's also that's my that was my tagline in high school. I was like, subs not dubs,
yeah.
dudes. No.
I'm sure it was. No, like anime,
yeah.
real avid anime viewers are like, oh, I watched the sub, not the dub.
Oh, yeah. Well, right.
Okay, you can read a little faster than me. Cool.
Well, that was the thing. Okay.
I prefer the actual animated series because Initial D
Really?
is yes. Well,
Okay.
I prefer the animated series over the movie, but I prefer the animated series that is dubbed and not with subtitles. I like the English dub cartoon, and a lot of people give me crap for that.
we could redub this movie ourselves.
We could. We won't, but we could. Yeah. So this was our first foreign film.
Yeah, it was.
Hopefully not our last. I'd like to watch more foreign films if there are foreign car
Tons.
films. Are there?
There's tons.
Really?
Yeah. I think so.
I feel like
I'm guessing.
is that on any
really-
research at all? Because I feel like
No, of course not.
okay, yeah, of course not.
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like the idea of a car movie. I almost said film. Car movie.
Picture?
Yeah, a car picture. The pictures.
Pictures.
See?
Yeah.
I think the idea of a car movie is a very American idea.
Yeah.
The car is very American. The stylized version of the car, at least, where it's this flashy, sexy, loud,
All right,
brash thing. Go on.
Yeah, let me throw out at you the original movie, The Italian Job,
Right.
was
Right.
not an American movie.
It was a Jamaican film, yeah. The Italian Job.
No, it was definitely not filmed here in the States.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a definite car movie. That's, in fact, one I was talking about. The original one and the later one.
Mark Wahlberg.
The Mark there's the two.
Yeah. No,
Which
I
are
know the
very
original
different,
one.
Oh, sure you do.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen the original one. I only know of the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
Mini
actually, they're
Cooper.
both-
How you doing?
Hey,
Hey, Mini Cooper. You got stripes. I got stripes too.
it's a pretty good Mark Wahlberg.
Thank you.
Okay.
But
So, yeah.
okay, car movie for sure. The Italian Job.
Yeah.
But
So-
not really focused around the cars, featuring
Okay.
iconic cars.
Okay, I'm just going to throw another one out there.
Okay.
Speed Racer. Originally was Go Go Go. Originally Japanese.
Mahagogo, yeah.
Yeah.
Mahagogo, Mahagogo, Mahagogo.
Go.
Is it go? Is it another go at the end?
I don't know, but Go Go is
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay, so my theory is very flawed.
No,
there's
it's not very
so
flawed.
every
It's
car
just
film's a foreign film. Is what I'm learning.
It's they all originated.
Let's get back to Initial
okay.
D.
All right, let's do that.
So for those of you unaware, first of all, go watch the movie. It's on Netflix.
Yep.
It's been on Netflix for at least a year, so I don't
Yes.
think it's going anywhere. It's not one of those
Yes.
that kind of flakes in and out. But it's based on the cartoon, which is based on the manga. It's an anime, Japanese anime, and this is hands down probably the most important series when it comes to modern car enthusiasts. Initial D is very much not responsible solely, but majorly responsible for the explosion in Japanese cars today. I mean, this movie, so really the TV show, we're going to talk a lot about the TV show too, because I don't think we'll cover the TV show on its own because there's so many episodes of it. I don't know if maybe we could do like a season
I stumbled
thing.
into it a little bit, and I was like, oh gosh, there's a lot. So
Yeah, there's a lot. And we'll talk about it later. This movie's very much a Spark Notes version of like the first 2 seasons of Initial D.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
But the Initial D is an anime. Please go watch the anime, dub or sub. It doesn't matter. Just go watch it. It features tons of cool cars. It's very accurate to cars, which is really, really cool and really special. And if you're a car enthusiast today, between the ages of 15 and 30, you have seen Initial D. You've seen Initial D.
Really?
The show, yes, 100%.
So I'm old.
Yeah, you are old, which I tell you every episode.
I
You just
know
don't
you do.
listen to me.
I never do because I'm old and I can't hear.
But
What?
anyway,
Huh?
what are your thoughts on
So go ahead.
what are your thoughts on Initial D, the movie?
Wait. Initially, the movie. I absolutely hated it.
Oh my God, here we go.
I can't. No, I can't even say that with a straight face because I actually love the movie. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. It took honestly because I haven't watched I'm not cultured.
Yeah,
I haven't watched a foreign film where
it's been a
those
while.
dubs. Yeah,
It's been a long while.
So
yeah.
it took me like the first couple of times. I literally because I was watching it on the computer, I stopped it so I could
So you
read.
could read, yeah.
And then I was like, no, I got the hang of this. This is cool. I can,
Right.
And I got it for the rest. So it took a little practice,
Mhm.
which is, it was good. And I didn't mind it after a while. I actually really enjoyed the movie. I really did. I enjoyed the story of
Right.
it. I think it's really cool.
I think we enjoy the movie for different reasons. So what was why did you enjoy it so much?
I enjoyed it because it was actually a good, interesting story. I really enjoyed the story part of it. You know me, I like stories. I like,
Right.
Characters that you can kind of mentally
That's
bond
how you
with
can
and
kind of like if I like a movie, it's
Yeah.
because it has cool, fast, accurate cars.
Yes.
And if you like a movie, it's because the story was
Yeah.
actually well written,
Mhm.
story arc. You're
Story,
more of a
characters, blah, blah,
technical, while I'm like a flash, bang, bang kind of person.
I
mean,
yeah,
in shorthand, yeah.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's it was the story was fun. It was great, and
Yeah.
of course, the drifting was
Wow,
really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of fun to watch.
Uh-huh.
And then you had the good guys and bad guys and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I actually felt sorry for the guy with his girlfriend.
Takumi?
Takumi?
Yeah.
It was that's not her name, is it?
Takumi, yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. The main character is Takumi.
Okay.
Because
but his girlfriend's name. What's her name?
I don't know. I forget.
Me too. So, but I was like sad,
Yeah.
and I actually like felt, and I was like, oh, that's really. I was bummed out and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not going to give it away because this is a fairly recent film that we want people to see, right? So.
Well, it's 2005. No,
okay,
it's been on
spoiler
Netflix.
alerts.
Yeah, spoiler alerts.
alerts.
If you haven't and you plan on watching Initial D, please go watch the film.
Yes.
Watch the anime, but go watch the film.
Wow, you're really pushing the anime.
I think I love the anime.
Really?
To the point where I was like, okay, I know every car guy's supposed to get into it. I pretty much locked myself in my room for about 2.5 days and ran through the 5 seasons of it.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's so good, and the anime and this film as well, the movie as well, captures Japanese cars and the joy of Japanese cars and the joy of driving Japanese cars so perfectly that it's every time I used to watch Initial D
Mhm.
while working on the Red RX-7.
Did you
I
really?
had my laptop open and I would be watching Initial
No.
D because that's all this show and this movie made me want to do
Yeah.
was work
Yeah.
on my own RX-7.
Yeah. That is true. And it was, I mean, that was the fun part, I thought, about the dad,
Bunta.
Bunta, right? Who, you look at him in the beginning, you're like, man, that guy's a loser. That guy is just a bum. He literally cannot get up.
Yeah.
And he's always drunk and all this stuff. And then, they kind of give him that arc of he turns into a pretty cool guy, and
Yeah, you definitely find out his backstory, why
Yeah.
he has this overly built
Yeah.
AE86 for just delivering tofu.
what is it? It's an AE.
So it's a Toyota Corolla. It's really a Toyota Corolla, but it's
Is it?
yeah. So we'll get into the cars in
Okay.
a second.
Yeah, okay, never mind. All right.
One thing I wanted to touch on that we got away from
Yes.
was the love story
Yeah.
with the girl.
Yes.
Her name's escaping me, but it's unlike any other love story I've ever seen in a movie because it's not like essentially he's always referred to as the man in the Mercedes, even in the anime.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And you never see him. You never see the man in the Mercedes.
Wow.
And in the show, it's a silver big body S550 Mercedes,
just like in the movie.
just like in the movie. Which I think they switched in the movie. There's like one scene where he's in like a newer Mercedes.
Oh. Okay.
I believe so. But anyway,
maybe he rented a car for the day.
he had a Turo. His car was in the shop, so he had to go to Enterprise. They put him in a little Fiat 500.
They don't explain that part, but
that's
okay.
the man in the Fiat 500.
It's the man in the Yugo.
So basically, jeez. You know what would be really funny is over in Japan they have K cars. Those little cars that are the size of our Ottoman that travels with us to all of our filming locations.
Right here
like the Honda Beat
Akira.
and the Suzuki Cappuccino. Man, if he rolled up in a Honda today, I mean that thing's the size of a lunchbox.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So there's a character named the Man in the Mercedes, and basically he's an older gentleman that's essentially paying the girlfriend for things. Things that will lead favors. And I believe her mother as well.
Personal favors. Oh, really?
Because I think there was a scene, maybe it's in the anime, maybe I'm mixing it up, but there's a scene where she says that man has kept me and my mother afloat. Maybe it's just her, and then maybe she's supporting her mother. But basically, Takumi finds this out, and it's a very interesting moment that I've never seen in a film. That's an issue I've never had to personally deal with.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. But yeah, it was very fresh and different.
Yeah, you're right.
Than like, oh, she doesn't like me. Wah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, because there's a lot more involved there.
Yeah, there's a lot of feelings that must go into that. Yeah. Finding out that your girlfriend is receiving payment for favors is because all the love that she gives to Takumi
and she
is
does.
not fake.
It's
not fake love,
very
but
genuine.
You find out this other it's very interesting. Interesting.
But you're absolutely right.
Love story.
It's not along the same lines as your typical love story.
Yeah.
So
she's moving away. She's going to a different school. Oh no, it's a very different. I want to say almost more mature.
It
but
is.
Like
it's like
I get not mature in the sense of like good, but like mature and like that's like an actual more. I don't know. I don't even know the word, but like you know what I mean.
No, that is. It's a more involved, more complicated,
right. Complex. I think was the word.
More complex relationship than you normally would have, because normally, like you said, it would be like, oh, I have to go to another school.
She likes Chad with the muscles. Oh, I'm gonna workout montage. You know, it wasn't that.
Exactly.
It wasn't
that.
So,
and that
was
I
fantastic.
liked that. I thought that was great that they had something different. See, that's what I mean about the whole storyline and all that stuff.
I did, because I actually did my own review of this movie solo. About a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually over a year ago, because it was at the very start of quarantine.
Oh.
I did like a Mystery Science Theater thing where I watched it and just recorded my
no
audio.
Way. Really?
Yeah, and it actually has I think 140,000 views.
No.
Yeah, because people think it's the movie. people think it's a free version of the movie on YouTube, and all the comments are hate comments.
Really?
People are pissed.
Okay, well, interesting. Okay, but you got the 140,000 views,
right?
So
and that's all that matters.
All
I think it gave me $6 anyway. Because I could only run one ad on it.
Gotcha.
But when I did my first initial D walkthrough last year, I criticized the Bunta love story, and I thought that Bunta was kind of a bum. Even throughout, I thought the ending of the movie didn't really.
Who's Bunta?
The dad.
The dad.
The dad. Okay, sorry.
He doesn't have a love story.
Well, like he had like photos of like
of his wife.
Yeah.
And
like
left him.
I always thought that he was kind of a bum. This time, watching it a second time, I understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also coming from the anime, he's not like a disheveled drunk in the anime. He's a little bit more of like a mysterious sort of just like I don't really recall him hitting Takumi or like he's always just sort of been like watching from the corner, if that makes sense. Like kind of watching over him.
Okay.
Never really like a disheveled drunk like he is in this movie.
Yeah, he's really drunk in this movie. Like over the top.
Right, which we'll get into later.
Oh, okay. All right.
But so I do still feel like I like the anime version better, where he is this like he's almost more of like a monk character.
Oh, okay.
Where he's like just watching Takumi go through the motions and like, you know, sort of watching over him, where in this one he's like kind of a useless drunk for most of it.
By the way,
what?
Lots of smoking and puking in this movie.
Yeah.
Lots of smoking, lots of puking in almost every scene. So just a call out there.
Well, cigarette culture is very, very large in Japan.
Yeah.
And I don't have any experience in Japan, but what I do have experience is with all of the 90s Japanese cars I've driven.
I have experience with puking, by the way, so I just want to let you know.
I have puked a time or two. Actually, about 2 months ago, I puked a record 8 times in one day.
Thanks for sharing that.
Shout out to Alex and his poor girlfriend Sink. Anyway,
well, okay, great.
Yeah, she won't let me live that down. But anyway, all the 90s Japanese cars I've driven.
Yeah.
Ashtrays everywhere.
Really?
Everywhere. Nook and cranny. There's a little bit of free space. You put an ashtray there. So
not a cup holder, an ashtray.
Less like seriously,
Yeah.
some cars have ashtrays instead of cup holders. Like
wow. Okay.
it's smoking culture is very large.
Wow. All right.
Or very popular,
that's
I
nice.
should say.
That's good.
So yes, in the movie that is
All
a
right.
huge part of the culture, and it's a big part of car culture too. It's rare that you find people in car culture that their only vice, their only outlet is cars.
Yeah.
It's normally accompanied by vaping, smoking, drinking, that sort of thing. So there is a lot of smoking, definitely Japan in the 90s, which is considered the lost decade
really?
in Japan, which is always so fascinating to me. We can get into that later. Because
when was this movie made?
So this movie was made in 2005.
But it was about the 90s?
But Initial D was from the 90s.
Gotcha.
Initial D was in the 90s.
Okay.
So in order to stay, obviously, with technology and everything, the movie technically takes place in the 90s.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah. So, yeah. What else did you like about it?
Oh, man. You know, I like the rivalries. It was fun. The characters were fun, like the Emperor gang. You know, the Emperor drivers.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah,
and I
the
love,
Evo 3s, yeah.
I love when he has that truck that's all lit up.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was very cool.
Those are real. Those
Seriously?
are real. That's like a thing.
I thought that was totally cool. And, you know, the funny thing is I was like, yeah, I would totally do that. I would totally deck out a truck like that to carry my car.
I also
love lights on cars.
I loved because shoot. Which ones? Oh, the Emperor team. So the Evos were Team Emperor.
Okay.
And did you notice on the wing, the rear spoiler of the car, they had the stickers from the other teams, and they were upside down and ripped in half on their spoilers. So they make this a point in the anime.
Okay.
That old World War II Japanese fighter pilots would take American flags and British flags, turn them upside down and rip them in half and put them on their plane when they shot one down.
Oh.
So that's a really cool thing
that
I
cool.
thought that they brought over, and something they skipped over but put into the movie was the fact that all of the rival teams that they had beaten on the mountain, they took their stickers, flipped them upside down, and cut them in half and put them on their wings.
Which was it wasn't against the Emperor guys, but it was against that one guy in the beginning and
the Night Kids, I believe.
Yes.
In the R32,
yes. And he's like what's the hero's name?
Takumi?
Takumi.
Yeah.
He was like so nonchalant. He's got his arm, you know, he's resting his head on his arm, like he's totally bored.
Because it's just it's the tofu route for him.
It is.
That's it. Yeah.
And he's driving like super fast and passes him.
Yeah.
And beats him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great way to introduce like, who is this Superman?
Right. Yeah.
And nobody knows, and they think it's the Tofu. I love they call him Tofu Man,
Yeah.
which is his dad,
Yeah.
Ubuntu or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Bunta.
Bunta.
Ubuntu.
That's a system.
Did they ever mention in this movie that of Takumi's team, what team Takumi is on, or no?
I don't
The
think so.
Akina Speed Stars.
No.
Okay. Well, that's what team he's on.
Oh, okay.
So they have like
the
teams.
Speed
and stuff.
Stars. You're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Akina
Yeah.
Speed Stars.
Yeah.
And then there's
They do
the
mention
Night
it, yeah.
Kids, which is
Yep.
like the R32, and I believe, I don't know if Takahashi brothers are. I think they're the Red Suns, and then there's the Emperors. Anyway.
Oh, the Red Suns. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Which something
So
they
cool.
totally omitted out of this movie
Yeah.
is that in the anime there's the Rotary Brothers.
Ah.
So there's Ryosuke, which has the white FC RX-7 that was in this movie, that white RX-7.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's also his
Cool,
brother.
totally cool, yeah.
I think Keisuke is his brother's name, and he drives a yellow FD RX-7.
Oh.
And he is like sort of like the hothead. And there's this
okay.
line that literally gives me chills thinking about it.
Oh boy.
From the anime where
Yep.
Bunta is talking to Takumi,
Mhm.
and because Takumi wants the car for the weekend to go see the girl,
Right. Yes.
and he says, the Bunta says that he'll give it to him if he goes and races the
Yeah.
FD,
Yeah.
the RX-7,
Yeah.
and the line that he says is, "Go to Akina this Saturday night, find some punk in an FD, and beat the fire out of him." It's
Wow.
such a cool line.
Wait,
to
was
the-
that in the movie?
No, it's in the anime.
Yeah, I was gonna
To
say
the
that.
point where Xavier Wolf, who's a rapper,
Yeah.
used that as an intro line to one of his
Really?
songs,
Wow.
which is just like such a gangster thing
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Beat the not go and go to Akina and race the yellow car. It's go to Akina this Saturday night,
Yeah.
find some punk in an FD, and beat the fire out of him.
Yeah.
Which is it gives
It's
me
very cool.
goosebumps.
That's very
even
cool.
so, like that's the thing that I'm talking about. Like
Yep.
where
Yeah.
in the anime, Bunta was this sort of over like this not god type character, but like he definitely wasn't a slob, and he had these great one-liners. And people say that in the anime, he's the best dubbed voice.
Really?
It's this very the voice actor who did Bunta in the anime, the English dub version, very very good. Like very reserved, very like deep, very very cool,
Interesting.
very
Yeah,
very cool.
so
So
now
anyway,
I
I
know
was
which one.
sad because I fully picked this movie expecting to see two RX-7s, and they totally just omitted the other Rotary brother.
Oh, gotcha.
They just
okay,
didn't
yeah.
put him in the movie.
Okay.
Although I did see multiple RX-7s because one of the scenes there's a red FC, a black FC, and a white FC all next to each other.
Okay.
So that's what I was talking about, though, is that this is sort of an abridged version of the first two seasons of Initial D.
Wow.
I don't think he blows the engine in the 8.6 in his car
Yeah.
until the second season, maybe even the third season.
Okay.
The other thing that was in this movie he uses right away, but it doesn't come till later seasons in the anime,
Mhm.
is where he drops his front wheel into the gutter in order to pass the other car. Did you remember seeing that scene?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes.
So that didn't come till later. That was like a
Oh.
way for Takumi to get faster. But in this movie, he like does that
Oh.
right away.
Yeah.
But so in Japan, there's rain gutters on these roads,
Mhm.
and basically what he would do is he would drop his right front tire or left, only right front tire, because it's an inside turn. And one of the rules is that you don't cross over the double yellow line. You never cross over the double yellow line for like real like mountain driving. I think in this movie they did, but
Wait, you don't cross over the double yellow line where? You mean on the side where
like
or in the middle of the road?
in the middle of the road, like you try not to
Okay.
cross that unless you're passing someone.
Yeah.
Like obviously passing them in a race, but like in real life mountain driving, real
Yeah.
life back roading that I've done with friends and stuff, it's like
Yeah.
kind of a rule that you don't cross the double yellow.
Well, yeah,
um,
because you could
Die. But anyway, but so
there's that.
so in the movie,
There's that.
and now that I think about it, they cross the double yellow line in the movie all the time. So whatever.
They did.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so in the movie he drops the front right tire of the AE86 into the gutter,
Yeah.
which like essentially makes him hold on and like take the corner super
okay.
tight, because since the wheels dropped, the car can't if that makes sense. You know
It
what I mean?
does make sense. I was wondering why he did that
but
and why they made a point to show the tire
right.
going in the gutter.
But I think that comes in like I want to say season 4 or 5 of the anime when he's racing actually an NA Miata, just like the Miata that I used to have, but it's red in the show.
Oh.
Yeah, that comes later in the show.
Does he ever pick up any kind of mechanical stuff, or is he just a driver? Because his dad is definitely mechanical.
Right. Because
So,
they I don't know if they beam swap the car or
Okay.
there's rumors about what engine they put into the car.
Yeah.
No, in the anime I don't recall him ever really being that mechanical.
Yeah.
Besides later on he gets like a truck that like follows him that has like tires and like it's like a parts truck. Like
Really?
it's official team, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, so that was something else that I noticed that was definitely from later seasons that they threw in right away. So if you watch this movie, you do get like 3 seasons worth of Initial D. The Emperors don't come till I think season 2 or 3.
Really?
Well,
Okay,
most
yeah.
of the first season is Takumi not wanting to drive. He doesn't want to race.
Huh.
He's like, this is what I do for work. It's stupid. The competition is stupid.
So he's just doing the tofu run.
Yeah, and his friend, I
Yeah.
want to say Ikatami. I forget
the,
his friend's name.
The one whose dad owns the gas station.
Yeah, the foil. The
very good.
yeah,
Yes.
thank
perfect.
you.
Yes.
I went to communication school. I took a film class. Thank you.
Right.
I did take a film class.
He is, by the way,
Great.
and that. Yes, but that character is way over the top in this movie.
In the anime,
Yeah.
he's the one. So the Initial D anime is very realistic.
Oh, is it?
It's very realistic.
More than the movie, you think?
I
mean,
know, yeah.
because that's kind of funny that the anime is more realistic than the actual live-action movie.
For animes, the anime is very realistic.
Okay.
Besides, I want to say his name is Ikatami. I didn't write it down. But Takumi's friend,
Yeah.
he gets like his eyes will be like bigger than his head. Like his jaw will like literally hit the floor. Like he's very
Animated?
typical
Yeah.
animated. Yeah, very typical anime.
Yeah.
Where most other stuff usually isn't.
Yeah, because in the movie, that's the way he is. His character is like way over the top. I mean, like so spastic about everything.
Yeah.
You know, and and I was like, wow, this guy's almost annoying, but I like him.
Yeah.
You know, it was okay.
That's exactly how he is in the show.
Yeah, okay.
But in the anime, he's the one that keeps itching Takumi to. He's like, you got to keep doing this. You got to keep doing this. And he, of course, I think you see a little bit of it in the movie, but in the show, he's like, yeah, my friend will race you, and Takumi's like, I'm not doing that. And then he's like, yeah, like he's like all talk to these other rival teams and stuff.
Yeah, and he is.
Which is really, really fun to watch and
Yes.
things like that. But yeah, a lot of that's something that they skipped over in the movie was the fact that Takumi really didn't want to do this. He doesn't want to get into competitive racing. He thinks it's for hothead, stupid people that,
They sort of showed that in the movie with the fact of his nonchalant driving really, really fast and amazingly well. And he's like got his hand on his head and he's just
100%.
like, yeah, whatever.
But like in the show, it was like at school. He's like, I'm going home. I'm not doing anything tonight. I got to be up early to make the tofu run, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which I understand. This was a less than 2-hour movie. You can't really stretch that out that much. So it makes sense. But
and I'm also glad, by the way, that you explained to me about his dad putting the water in the car.
Such a great moment.
Which is great, but I actually wouldn't have understood that unless you explained it to me ahead of time.
Right. So if you are curious about that, if you did watch the movie and you're like, yeah, I am curious about the water. First of all, sorry it took you 28 minutes to figure out your answer. But
right.
So Takumi's dad gives him a cup of water after he is driving and he breaks all the tofu. So tofu is... It's almost like a spongy gelatin type.
I think it's a bean curd, isn't it? Like a
something.
Something.
It's a
something.
food. I think it's a food. It's mostly a food.
I think
and Takumi he delivers tofu up into the mountains.
Yeah.
And if you take a corner too hard, it's like a jello. It's gonna break apart and smash and break. So his dad gives him a cup of water a full cup of water, and puts it in Takumi's car and says if you spill that water, then the tofu's bad. So it's like a gauge almost.
Yes.
And so Takumi gets really good at driving without spilling the water by drifting and rolling the water around the edge of the cup instead of spilling it. And it makes him become a very smooth driver, which is very Japanese.
Which is great because his dad explains it to the other guy, who I don't know the relationship. The gas station owner, is he?
I think they're just friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is that he does explain it. He said, I gave this to my son, and then the first time it took him like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it got to be an hour and a half, and then it was like an hour, it was like less and
he's
less.
like, I haven't timed him recently, but it sounded like 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was, that was an interesting, cool part of the story.
So fun fact.
Yeah.
That the Mount Akagi is not, in namesake, it's not a real mountain.
Oh.
But it is a real mountain. The road that is in the movie that they race, that is, and the one in the cartoon, that's a real road. They just changed the name of Mount Akagi to something else.
Okay.
I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think it's Akagi. But big disclaimer. I am going to butcher all of these names and get all of them.
So am I. I'm like avoiding the names because I don't
I'm trying my
remember
best
any
here.
of them. I'm saying like the guy and the kid and,
Yeah, but anyway, so there's actually a video, again, another name, a real YouTuber, Noriaro. Basically, he's an Australian guy who lives in Japan, and he makes YouTube videos about Japanese cars in English, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And they took an A86 and an FCRX7 up the real mountain pass, and they bought a cup of water and a cup holder, which those cup holders go for like insane amounts of money.
What? What are you saying? What?
Yeah, like they're like kind of expensive.
They don't have cigarettes in them or something?
No,
or
because it's from the movie. But actually, my friend,
all right,
Andy, shout out Andy, has an R32 Nissan Skyline, which was in the show. It's the first car he races.
Yeah.
I reviewed that car, and to get a genuine Nissan Nismo cup holder for that vent, $240.
$240.
Yeah. So it's become like this big thing of like
Wow.
kids who think they're good at drifting and racing and stuff, like buy these vent cup holders, because the A86 doesn't have a cup holder by design.
I could 3D print one.
You could. That'd be really cool, actually. You know what? I have something else for you to 3D print.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later about it. Not later. I want to find a sauce holder for Chick-fil-A sauce. Because because Bella and I are going on this big trip, and we always eat in the car. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I saw one on Amazon, but it was like $12, and I'm like,
I could 3D print that. Okay.
Anyway,
sauce holder.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I guarantee you could find one.
Yeah. All right. That sounds interesting. It's a challenge.
But anyway, what else was I saying?
So we're
the
talking about
water in the car is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And again, that's sort of like the very thoughtful, mysterious Bunta from the show.
Yeah.
Where like the drunk Bunta.
Yeah. Right.
It didn't really fit his movie character.
Kind of.
Because it fit the anime character better.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, because it fit it was okay in this movie, and I got that because he was very upset.
Mm-hmm.
That was his livelihood. And
Yeah.
if you wreck the tofu, obviously the people aren't going to be happy that you deliver it to. So that was his way to basically, without teaching him, to teach him how to drive better.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of cool later on in the movie where he actually does teach him on the road.
Right.
And he's like, I'm just going to show you once. Like, I'm never going to do this again.
Well, that's after the new engine, right?
Yes.
So that's a whole
That's
couple
totally cool,
of episodes in the anime.
Yeah.
So it's highly debated what engine they put into, because they don't actually specify. Some people say it's a Beams motor, which is a crate motor from Toyota. Very high revving motors, very popular in drifters, but it never came in a factory car.
Yeah, doesn't he say like 11,000? Like it's,
Right.
Or 11.
So there's a couple episodes in it. 1100 RPM redline. In the anime, there's a couple episodes.
11,000, right?
Oh, yeah, 11,000. Sorry, not 1100. It's not a diesel. It's a diesel generator. Makes peak torque at 800 RPM.
Right.
Well, in the anime, there's a whole couple of episodes where Takumi gets the car with the new engine, and he's like, "This thing's slower." This thing is. He's like, this thing's way slower than it was before.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have that extra tachometer fitted. So he's looking at the car and he's shifting at like 6,000 RPM or whatever.
Okay.
And he finally tells his dad, and he's like, this thing is terrible. He's like, what'd
Yeah.
you do to it?
Yeah.
And he goes, you're not driving it right.
Yeah.
You have to take it to 11,000 RPM.
Yeah.
He's like, but the gauge only goes to, whatever.
It goes to 11.
Yeah, no, for real. For real, though.
I know
yeah.
It goes to 11. No,
which
but
gets into
it
my
goes to
notes. I
11.
do have a couple notes here.
Good.
I
I have nothing, so.
One thing that I wish
Big
they put
surprise.
in to the movie that was in the anime
Yeah.
is the speed chimes.
What?
Speed chimes.
chimes.
So, in Japanese
It's not
cars.
real. You just made that up.
I did make it up. Thank you. No. In Japanese
chimes.
domestic market vehicles, so vehicles only sold in Japan.
Okay.
Above, I want to say 55 or 65, there is a
Okay.
chime in the interior. Dee-doo,
65 miles per hour, or 65 kilometers or whatever? Or
It's
is it-
it's above 100 kilometers an hour, so 60.
100. Okay. 100 kilometers, right.
So that would be 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour.
Mhm.
There's a little chime that goes doo-doo,
Okay.
doo-doo, and it does not shut off until you go below 100 kilometers an hour.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a Japanese, the
Like,
national,
don't
like
go
what we
fast.
had here. We had little arrows that pointed to 55 or whatever.
Our 55 was really big on the
Right.
speedometer.
So this
yeah.
was a speed chime that whenever you
Okay.
went over 100 kilometers an hour, the chime never shut off.
Yeah.
You would just be driving, listening to this doo-doo, doo.
Mhm.
Like, it was like you left your door open or something.
Okay.
The cool thing about they put that in the anime because the cars actually did that. I've driven a couple that have the speed chimes. It's very annoying but kind of cool.
Yeah.
They left it in the anime so they wouldn't be showing the speedometers, but you'd see them ripping down the mountain and you'd hear the
Oh.
chime. Which
That's
was like
cool.
just so
That's
cool,
very cool.
when you put
yeah.
it together in your head because they don't have
Yes.
to show that they're going fast.
Right.
You can hear
Yeah,
the chime
that's-
going off that they're,
Extremely,
gunning down this mountain at 100 kilometers an hour.
extremely clever
Yes.
to do something like that.
Yeah.
That's the attention to detail that I love.
And it's even like, Eurobeat boosting, which the anime has such a better soundtrack than this movie.
really.
But the cars screeching, the proper rotary sounds for the FC, all that stuff, and then you
Yeah.
just hear this chime in the background too. It's just
Yeah.
it's great.
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
The other a couple other notes here.
Yep.
English songs. Did you notice that?
Yes, I did notice that. Yes.
So I always forget this fact that Japan and a lot of other countries, but Japan we're talking about.
Yeah.
They use a lot of English.
So yes. So I noticed. Did you notice all the college T-shirts he had
Yeah.
on in this movie?
Yeah.
It was like
Regular English college
Yeah.
T-shirts.
and there was
There's DeVry University.
Ivy League.
University of Phoenix Online.
Ivy League.
Or
Ivy League.
what is it? The
Yeah.
what is it? The New York
I don't know.
what is it? The College of New York football team because they don't actually have a football team. That's like a big joke that people wear these NYU
okay.
football team because they
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, people
Okay.
wear those as jokes.
Yeah. But no, and I saw like the shoes, Reeboks or something.
Yeah, and
that were in there.
the gas station
Yeah.
was in English.
Yes.
Enos, E-N-O-S.
Right, I noticed a
so
lot of English.
That's
a lot of
not like
English.
a mix up in the film or anything.
Yeah.
That's really how Japan is because again, I've driven a lot of Japanese imported vehicles and I'll get in and they'll have, Japanese symbols here and there, but like it says air conditioning in English.
Really.
Cars that were never meant to be sold here, never meant to hit US soil. It will say like air conditioning, it'll say radio, it'll say volume. I mean, yes, there are a lot of Japanese characters as well.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the aircon systems for like
Yeah.
recirculating or things like that, that's usually in Japanese. But it'll say fuel like up on the dashboard.
Huh.
Perfect English. Well, not always perfect English.
Yeah.
But English.
But English, yeah, which I noticed throughout the movie, and I
Mhm.
was kind of like, I guess it didn't really hit me until I realized he was wearing the shirts from
Yeah.
different colleges, and I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that's
So
totally in
it-
English. Yeah.
And the interesting thing that people have at least pointed out, and is definitely true with Speed Racer,
Yeah.
is the fact that the anime is sort of they're drawn to look more American in
Yeah, I
some
guess so,
ways.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Speed Racer looks very American.
He does. There's no
more,
two
definitely
ways
more
about
so
that.
with Speed Racer. I've heard the
Yes.
argument a little bit for Initial D, and I think they actually did a good job
Yeah.
in Initial D of actually sticking to Japanese culture. But yeah, look at Speed Racer.
Speed Racer's
I mean,
very
yeah,
Americanized.
he looks very American.
Yeah.
Arguably looks like you when you were a kid, in a way. Have you heard that before?
Yes, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
That was the joke, was when I was growing up, that my brother was Racer X and I was Speed Racer.
Yeah. Which we'll
And
definitely
that's
touch on Speed Racer
Yeah.
at some point.
So yes, when I was growing up, yes, I looked at Speed
Another thing that I noticed, specifically in the
And I
very
talk fast, and I didn't know all my sensors ran together.
Your whole life has been dubbed. Oh my god. What? Nothing pops. That's a running joke in our family.
Yes,
Because
yes.
there's an which I never realized was probably just because of poor dubbing.
Yes, it was.
Speed Racer.
I believe it's the first actual episode.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
talking to Pops, and he goes, "What? Nothing pops." Like he says it so quick.
Yeah, he says it really fast.
I'm sure now, looking back at it, I'm sure what nothing pops is probably way shorter in Japanese. They probably have their own single word for it, so they had to speed ramp.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about how they had to figure out how to say things very quickly.
Yeah.
And they talk about that, and the voiceover artists did a good job, or as best they could. But that's why a lot of scenes in there, and that's what was so funny, is they would talk and quick run on sentences, because Japanese.
Remind me to send you. There's a clip on YouTube. It's like 15 seconds.
Oh boy.
And it's just called. The title of it is just proof that Speed Racer is a sociopath. And it's pretty fun. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do. All right.
The other thing I noticed: opening credits, playing an American song, or at least a song in English, and the 8.6 is driving up against the landscape. I just wrote down beautiful Japan landscapes.
Yes.
I mean, you could see why that's my top destination I want to go to. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful country.
Although I do agree for the most part. The only thing that I didn't think was like so wonderful was the beach.
Yeah, the beach didn't look great, if I'm honest.
But beyond that, everything else was spectacular.
I mean, the mountain roads just look so fun to drive.
No kidding.
And it's just the whole landscape of it.
Yeah.
The last thing I had written here for notes.
And there's no police, by the way, ever. Did you notice
up in the mountains there really isn't.
Okay.
Actually, to the point where this is a true story.
Yeah.
Apparently, in some mountain up in Japan, there is a shed up at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Just a shed.
Okay.
And it has big gas-powered lights, a generator, some cones, and some fuel.
Okay.
And so basically you go to the top of this mountain and you set up the lights and stuff and you drift up at the top of the mountain.
Really?
But it's been there since like the 90s. No one's ever stolen anything.
Huh.
The gas is always full. Like, it's like almost like someone always comes and fills the gas.
Kind of a bizarre, creepy, weird, but it's cool story.
Well, it's like a gentleman's agreement almost. Of like, you come up here, that's another big thing. That Japan is very, very strict on, is you do not put other people in danger. You do not, which we could talk about the Midnight Club forever. The Midnight Club. We'll get into it in a second.
Okay, good.
But basically, there's a real mountain where up at the very top there's this shed, and pretty much it's a gentleman's agreement of you put everything back, you refill what you used, and you go on your way. And when you're on top of the mountain drifting, you're not. It's almost like an unwritten agreement. I'm not sure if police are involved in that, but it's like this unwritten agreement that like, hey, we're up in the mountains, we're not doing anything down in the cities. We're not harming anyone.
Okay.
The reason I also say that is we're at 43 minutes. We're gonna dive into this. This might be a long episode.
That's fine. Well, okay. Go ahead.
The Midnight Club.
Yes.
The Midnight Club was a Japanese racing league that took place on the highways.
Oh, not in the mountains?
Not in the mountains.
Okay.
So this is the highways. There was a Porsche 911 that was very famous. There was the Devil Z, which was a 280Z.
Okay.
And a bunch of GTRs. It was called the Midnight Club, which is why the video game Midnight Club came around, but totally focused on something else.
Yeah, wow.
That's where they got the name from. But the Midnight Club was basically these really wealthy Japanese businessmen that 1, 2 in the morning would race each other on the highways at about 200 miles an hour.
Jeez.
I mean, we're talking, there was a Countach at one point, I believe.
Wow.
These are cars that were hundreds of thousands of dollars, souped up cars.
Wow. Yeah.
And they had like literally there was like an initiation process. It was kind of like a gang,
Yeah.
and there was an initiation process, and if
Pontiac G6.
jeez, God no. And if your car was spotted
Yeah.
with like because they had Midnight Club banners on the top of their windshields
Oh,
that
okay.
would say the Midnight Club.
Yeah.
If your car was spotted with that sticker, but you weren't in the group, like they were notorious for you'd come out to your car next day and have the wheels stolen and everything bashed in.
Okay.
Like, but their biggest rule was that you don't harm civilians,
Mm.
that you don't
Yeah.
put any civilians in danger.
Great.
And in the I believe late
I'm up
90s,
for that. Yeah, that's good.
there was a late 90s. There wasn't an incident. I think someone actually got killed. But there was an incident where a car hit a pedestrian car, and literally the gang disbanded. They never raced ever again.
Wow.
Wow. So that just goes to show that they take other people's safety very seriously.
That's very cool.
Just in that culture.
It's actually very cool. Yeah.
It's man, you could really dive into the
Very,
deep cuts of the Midnight Club. It's super cool. It's these like super wealthy, like millionaire businessmen that like during the day they're working hard, crunching numbers, and then at night, the cars had to, in order to get in, your car had to be able to sustain over 200 miles an hour for more than 15 minutes. So like, which is a hard thing to achieve for a car.
Yeah.
Keeping a car cool and
Yeah.
keeping a car solid at 200 miles an hour for more than 15 minutes
Well,
is nearly impossible to do.
You're talking about a non-Formula One car.
Right.
I
You're
mean,
talking
Formula
about
One cars even have. I mean, that's
right. They hit 200. They can hit 200, but that's on the back straightaway, and then they stop, and then they take a corner and they bring it down to 100 miles, and they bring it down to 80.
Yeah.
These cars have to sit at 200 miles an hour and not flinch, not move. And we're talking about, this is the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So we're talking about, Chevy Chevette era.
Yeah.
Where we're
right.
talking about my RX-7 era that was making 115 horsepower.
Yeah.
These cars were pushing 500, 600, 700 horsepower.
Wow.
And I think
so 15 minutes is sustained. 15 minutes, 200 miles an hour. That's really tough.
Insane.
It is insane because
keeping
race
it cool,
cars,
keeping it, sitting. Because a lot of people are like, oh, there's so many cars now that can hit 200 miles an hour. Like I believe the new Audi station wagon can hit 200. But holding it there is an entirely different beast.
Yeah.
And having the upgraded brakes, cooling system, fuel system, everything. So that's my little spiel on the Midnight Club. Super, super cool. We might get into, there's an anime about the Midnight Club as well. Maybe we could get into that at some point, but
all right.
Super cool. And basically, end all be all is that Japanese culture takes civilian safety very, very seriously. Very seriously, which is why people tend to go up into the mountains to do this sort of stuff, or empty highways.
Yeah.
If you notice, there wasn't any racing through the town. There wasn't any racing at the gas station.
Nope.
They never ripped away from the gas
No.
station. So very, very interesting and very different than America, where you take your big V8 and you do a burnout in the 7-Eleven parking lot.
Yeah, totally different.
Just a very different culture.
Just different. Well, and that's very admirable respect for human life and others.
100%. Yeah, the Japanese culture is very respect based,
which is awesome.
and I think we can really learn only a thing or two. We can learn a lot from.
No kidding.
Jeez. But let's get into the cars. Almost 50 minutes in to actually talk about the cars.
Yep.
First and foremost, probably the most recognizable car of any show or movie or anything of my age range is the 1983 Toyota Sprinter Trueno GT Apex, which is Takumi's AE86, which is the chassis code.
Okay.
It's commonly referred to as the AE86. Basically based off, again, chassis code, because Toyota's VIN numbers, these started with, 1 whatever AE86.
Okay.
Like my RX-7 is an FB RX-7. It just comes from the VIN number. And the next generation is the FC, then the FD. It's just whatever the VIN says.
Yeah, which I found was Trueno or
Trueno. We didn't get this trim level in the U.S.
Okay. So what would that be similar to then in the U.S.?
Well, we did get Corollas. We did get pretty much the same car, very similar. Yeah. We didn't get the good engine. So this came with the 4AGE 16-valve dual overhead cam 4-cylinder. Made about 110 horsepower.
Okay.
So, and that's another thing that was stressed more in the anime than the movie, is the fact that everyone was like, how the heck can this kid beat us with this piece of junk?
Right. I mean,
Which
they
is
did say it, but
which is basically an overarching story of, hey, it's not always about the engine. It's always it's about suspension. It's about drivers. It's about But interestingly, in the anime, they always focus on the fact that it's always the downhill. Takumi cannot beat anyone on the uphill.
Really?
He cannot beat anyone racing up the hill.
Really?
It doesn't have any power. You need horsepower to go up the hill, but down the hill.
I see what you're saying.
Down the hill is all momentum racing.
Yeah. Okay.
So as long as you have
totally,
the momentum,
totally
you're
didn't,
good.
Totally didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they bring it up in the movie.
No,
but it's definitely in real life. When we go to racetracks and stuff, we definitely look at the track, and like there are definitely more momentum-based tracks, or definitely more horsepower-based tracks.
Okay.
Horsepower-based tracks are straighter tracks where momentum have more turns. The more turns there are, the better a Miata or something of the sort would fare, because they're light and they can carry momentum through the corners, where bigger horsepower cars have to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down.
Yeah.
Things like that. So later on, Toyota actually put a 20-valve engine into
20 valve.
5 valves per cylinder.
What?
Yeah. It's one of the only cars to do it.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that before.
I saw the head of one once.
Really?
With the 5, it's in a star pattern.
Okay. All right, well.
I forget which one has the one more.
Yeah, intake or exhaust. I mean, would it be?
Think intake. I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't want to speak on it.
It's weird, though, that you would have
a
different number for intake and exhaust, but I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's different sizes, too. I think the exhaust was bigger.
Okay.
But anyway,
okay.
That's the other engine people speculate was swapped into the 8.6 after the engine blew up, which man, if you go online and watch the anime episode where the engine blows up, wow, it's an emotional ride.
Really?
It's an emotional ride. And something that they left out in this movie, again, that I would have liked to have seen from the anime.
Yeah.
I know I'm sounding like that snob that's like, the Harry Potter books are so much better. There's so much more detail. Something that's said when he blows up the engine in the 8.6 in the anime is his dad comes and picks him up on a tow truck.
Okay.
And they're driving, and he's like, and Takumi, for the first time ever, he's like, I'll pay whatever's needed. I'll pay to get this thing fixed. I'll fix it myself, like whatever. He's like, we'll get a whole new engine if we have to, which like obviously you do.
Right.
I always thought that was a funny line. But Bunta says, you're a lot richer than you think. And Takumi's like, what? And he said, the cool thing is that Bunta's been paying Takumi for all of the tofu runs, but just paying into an account and not letting Takumi have it.
Oh.
So he's like, all that tofu money is yours. He's just been waiting to give it to him. Which I thought was kind of a cool sentiment in the anime of like, hey, like, a cool father-son moment.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, you're a lot richer than you think. Like, we're going to get this thing fixed.
I have no money for you,
I
by
know.
the way.
You have nothing for me.
I have nothing for you. I give you nothing. I leave you nothing.
You did buy fluff at the store, though. Which I had right before this podcast, and I've been licking off the roof of my mouth for the last 53 minutes.
Well, that's how good of a father I am. I provide fluff.
Yeah, that's something you did for me recently.
Kids. Wow, that's it. That's it done. I don't put a roof over your head.
No.
I don't put meals on the table.
No.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I thought that was a really cool moment in the anime.
Very cool.
I would have liked
I really
to have seen.
That.
But
I like that.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
moving.
Because he doesn't. Right, he doesn't do that in the movie. But anyway,
he just goes behind his back and.
But that was pretty cool
yeah,
too.
That was cool. And something else again from the anime I would have liked to have seen. Is Bunta reveals the engine to his friends before putting it in the car. And the gas station owner goes, he's like, whoa, it's like gold. And then Bunta says, I told you you'd be impressed. He's like, I just can't believe you got this for the 8.6. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, he does say in the movie, he's like, this is a race car engine.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, this is what are you doing putting it in this? This is a race car engine,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool because the gas station owner probably does know about cars. I mean,
Right.
he's-
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he's-
So
yeah.
a very cool moment.
That is
Again,
cool, yeah.
the reason I bring that up is the same rapper Xavier Wolf used that in another song. He did a whole album using Initial D quotes. He called it Project D by Xavier
Oh,
Wolf.
right, because the initial D is
Yeah.
Project D, yeah.
Yeah,
Which I did
and,
look up that, by the way.
Oh
yeah.
wow! And the album cover
Yeah.
he not photoshopped. It's the tofu shop, but his personal car next to the tofu shop for the album cover of the Project D
Really?
album. Yeah, it's really cool. It's
I'm
some of
gonna
my
do-
favorite music too.
I'm going to do a rapper album.
Okay,
Christine.
please don't. I beg you, as a son and as someone with the gift of hearing, please do not make a rap album.
I want to make it about the initial
About
D.
Initial D.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. There's another artist that made an album about Initial D.
Yeah.
And I will not
Yeah.
shout that artist
No.
out because their album about Initial D is very bad.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Very bad.
All right, never mind. I
So
won't do that.
you're a 50-50. You could either make it another good one or another terrible one. But getting back to the cars, as we get
Yes.
severely sidetracked, of course, my
Always.
favorite,
Yep.
a 1989 Mazda RX-7 FC with the 13B turbo rotary.
That thing was sweet. That was nice.
I drove an identical down to the lug nut of that
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
I drove a right-hand drive Savannah
Yeah.
Turbo 2 RX-7 with the same MSO1 wheels,
Yes.
and it was a turbo.
Very cool.
Everything. I
So
drove down to the
your
I
FC though.
forgot I was gonna say, and the one that I drove was white,
Yeah.
and the owner put the same stickers. It had a red sun
that is
sticker
cool.
down the side,
That is cool.
and the power shift and all that stuff. What about my FC?
Your FC.
Yeah.
By the way, recently I was looking at some old videos.
Oh God.
And there's the videos of you driving.
Yeah.
And it was pretty fun because after watching this movie,
Yeah.
and then I saw you in the FC.
Yeah,
was like,
I had an
"Ah,
FC.
yes,
I
that-
had that car.
that FC was pretty cool. I like that. So
Mine?
yeah,
Mine was a roach.
yeah, whatever. But it was
Had
cool.
brown stained seats.
Oh.
But I do admit,
Yeah,
I
it's
wish
fine.
I
Come
kept
on.
that FC for like a couple of weeks. I
Yeah.
wish I registered it for the winter, honestly.
Yeah,
I wish I drove it through
yeah.
the winter and put it into a pole because that motor was so
Jeez.
strong
Yeah,
that like I would have just harvested the motor anyway.
right.
Because
Well,
obviously
that's
that
the
motor.
one that's the one in your current one, right?
All right.
All
Everyone's always scared of rotaries because the motors blow up all
Yeah,
the time.
right.
Which they do due to
Maintenance.
malmaintenance.
Okay.
Now HAL 9000.
But
And you're
Yep.
really good at that reversing tape noise. It's like we're rewinding you. There it is. But I don't change rotary engines. I change chassis.
that is true.
That rotary,
true.
I've owned 2 rotary engines
yeah.
and
That's it.
3 RX-7s.
Yeah, well, you know.
And that one rotary
Swap
has
out the
been
body.
in all 3 of them,
Swap out the body. That's what you do.
which is great. So anyway,
Well, it's a totally different thing because you understand about the apex seals and all that
Yes.
stuff, which is
Very
very,
smart.
very different. Because when I had
I'm
my
the smartest in the
RX-7,
world. What? Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
go on.
I agree. But when I had mine, I had no idea what premixing
Yeah.
was. I didn't know anything about that. So
Yeah.
um,
I mean, it's just maintenance and things
Yeah.
like that, and anyway. So that was
so
obviously
that's
my favorite
very-
car. That white
Yeah.
FC.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah, totally cool. Totally cool.
I have 2 friends that have actually recreated that car. I'm sure there's hundreds
really,
more.
yeah.
Well, Colton's is left-hand drive. It's the American version, but it's on the same MSO ones, which is the wheels, Mazda
Yeah.
Speedo ones, which are replicas of the 787B wheels, which was on that race car that we saw at 7 Stock, the green and orange race car.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a replica of those wheels,
yeah.
which that was the car that obviously won Le Mans back in 1991, blah, blah, blah.
Was that the same car that was in the video game that you played at Galloping Ghost?
Yes.
Remember? Yeah, okay.
Oh!
You remember
The
that?
game that I
Yeah.
played at Galloping Ghost
Yes.
was the Initial D video game.
Yes. I remember that.
I believe that was Initial D3
was it?
at Galloping Ghost, but then at round 1 they have the new one, which is either 5 or 6.
So Galloping Ghost, I think we.
It's a retro arcade. We mentioned it earlier.
Retro arcade.
$20 you could play. It's all the original
Lots of
cabinet games, which is
1980s
cool.
games. Yes. So as
Which
we both explain it.
Yeah, let's both simultaneously explain the same thing. Which when COVID ends,
Yeah,
we definitely should
we're
go
definitely
there
going
again.
back to that. Yeah.
But yeah. So next up I have here is the 1990 Nissan Skyline GTR Nismo. Which is the first car he races and has an RB26 DETT engine.
Okay.
Which I love Nissan's engine naming tactics.
Okay.
So it's an RB26 DETT. So
RB
is
Arby's. Like
yes, we have the meats. Jeez, God. Okay.
So yes,
So the first two letters
Yeah.
is the engine family. So there's
Okay.
like SR, there's RB, there's
any
CA.
reason for that? I mean,
No,
as far
it's
as,
just like
they-
it's just the first two letters is the
Simple.
engine
Okay.
family.
Okay.
The next two numbers
Mhm.
are the displacement. So it's a 2.6
Oh.
liter.
Okay.
So RB's the family,
Mhm.
26 is 2.6 liter.
Okay.
Then the D stands for dual overhead cams.
Oh. Okay.
E stands for electronic fuel injection,
Okay.
and the T stands for turbo.
Oh.
So RB20 DETT, we know that it's a 2.6 liter dual overhead cam, electronically fuel injected twin turbo engine.
Nice.
Because there's two T's.
Nice.
I mention that
Good way
because
to
the
say it.
next car is a 1988 Nissan Silvia K, which has a CA18 DET. So CA is the engine family.
Okay.
18, 1.8 liter.
Yeah.
D,
D would be
already forgot.
No, it's not dual overhead cams.
Right. E is electronic fuel
and
injection, and a
yeah,
single
okay.
T, which is a
Mhm.
single turbo.
Single turbo.
So it's
So not a 2T. it
right.
was a
So the
single
TT
okay.
was
yeah.
twin turbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's super easy to decode engines, which is great.
I'm not the sharpest knife.
Nah, that's fine.
I'm not.
But like a KA24DE. So a KA24DE is a KA 2.4 liter
Yeah.
dual overhead cam, electronically fuel injected, no turbo.
Oh.
I've driven Z31 with a VG30 ET, so it's a single overhead cam because there's no D, but it's a
Okay.
turbo.
Okay.
Anyway, so I just had to get that out there. Nissan is the best at naming their
That's
engines
cool.
because like Toyota's the Toyota in this movie has a 4A GE.
Yeah.
I don't know what any of that means.
Who knows?
Maybe the 4 doesn't even mean that it's a 4-cylinder.
Well, it's funny how cars are named and how engines are named. Some of
Yeah.
them are really have bizarre stories behind their names.
Right.
But anyway.
Getting back to the Nissan Skyline
Yes.
GTR,
Yeah.
the RB26
Cool car.
DETT. RB engines, the
Yeah.
RB family, I've driven a lot of RB20s,
Yeah.
which is the 2.0 liter straight 6, so a 6-cylinder 2 liter,
Okay.
which is very small displacement for 6 cylinders.
Yeah.
I mean, our Mazdas are
That is
4-cylinder
true.
2.5 liters.
It is true. That is kind of small.
The RB is, I think, my second favorite engine ever made. The RB family.
Really?
I love the sound of them.
Mhm.
I've always loved whatever cars that they
Second
were
of the
in.
rotary?
Yes, second to a
Okay,
rotary. I love the sound that they make. They handle boost so well. I've driven a Laurel. I've driven Skylines with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're cool. RB engines were never sold in the U.S.
Okay.
Us Yankees never got any U.S. car with an RB engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that is a downside is that nowadays you could find parts here pretty easily, but
if you were in a Fast and Furious movie, you would find it at a secondhand store on the side of the road.
Shout out Craig Lieberman.
Yes,
who
Craig
actually owned
Lieberman. Yeah.
the Skyline from the second Too Fast Too Furious was actually Craig Lieberman's Skyline.
Was it really?
Yeah, so he was one of the few people that got one from the Motor X.
Okay.
When they were legally imported, and then Motor X screwed up, and then the U.S. was like, "Screw you, we're making the 25-year import law."
So I think we should actually say, now that this is like our bazillionth episode, that the Craig Lieberman
Yeah,
being in each one of these,
yeah.
we should do a thing where like you try and find, like, you tell us when the Craig
Oh
Lieberman
yeah, leave
shout
a
out.
comment.
Leave a
leave a
comment when
timestamp for the Craig
when the
Lieberman
Craig
shout out.
Lieberman, the first Craig Lieberman
Yeah.
shout out of the episode. Leave
Yeah.
a shout out for that. Leave a timestamp and
We love it.
And
But yeah,
we'll be
apparently
happy.
you could just find one at a secondhand
Exactly.
market.
Right.
Which is funny.
Right?
Yeah, now bringing it up, the RB
Yeah.
was in the Skylines, which was in Too Fast Too Furious.
Mhm.
It was in the Nissan Laurel. It was in a bunch of other Nissan products. that were only sold overseas.
Yeah.
Mainly bigger sedans, things like that. There actually is an RB30,
Yeah.
which is a 3-liter,
Hmm.
which came in the Nissan Patrol, I believe, which is a huge SUV.
But you said you drove one, right? With the
Yeah, I've driven a
RB engine?
handful of
Okay.
them. All imported vehicles, all
Okay,
right-hand drive.
Okay.
Some people do swap them into like 240SXs and stuff, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's a right-hand drive engine,
Yeah.
which is
That's
cool.
very cool.
So
yeah.
I love the Skyline. I think my second. I mean, I love the 8.6 too. I love the 8.6 so much that when I originally got obsessed with Initial D,
Yeah.
I went out and ordered the toy car from Japan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
up in my
cool.
room. It's
yeah, very cool.
back
Yeah.
home, not because we're in Japan right now. We're at
That's
the
right.
base of
I
Mount
forgot.
Akagi.
We're in. Hey.
It's easy to forget, you know.
Hey, Mr. Tofu Man, can I
yeah.
get some tofu, please?
Yeah. Oh,
See?
yes. Yeah.
See?
Yes,
See?
yeah.
See?
Yeah. You hear him?
Yeah.
He's in the background.
See how I made that?
Yeah. It's so realistic now. It's really like a ASMR experience. But
Yeah, we are totally in Japan right now.
last car I want
Yeah.
to point out was the 1995 Mitsubishi Evo 3.
Yeah.
It had a 2.0 liter 4G63 engine. The 4G63 engine,
Mm-hmm.
which is Mitsubishi, not to get mixed up with a 4AGE, it's a 4G63.
Yeah.
4AGE, 4G63. You catching along here?
No, I'm not.
So the
I'm
4G63
not following this at all.
The 4G63 is a Mitsubishi engine.
Okay.
Very stout. Very
Yeah.
stout engine. It's a
Yeah.
4-cylinder you can get about 650 horsepower out of without changing
Are you
to
serious?
Yeah, bigger turbo and injectors.
Wow.
You can shove power through a 4G63 and it'll take it. It'll take it.
Wow.
Yeah, really
okay,
cool.
all right. Very
But again,
cool, yeah.
Mitsubishi engine naming annoyances. It's 4G63. It's not a 6.3 liter. It's a 2 liter. I don't know why 63 is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's-
Like
it is
engine.
weird,
Yeah.
Odd.
It's whatever. So, but something I did want to point out is the Mitsubishi Evolution 3 we never got here in the States. So none of these cars we got here in the States.
Okay.
We got a version of the RX-7, obviously. And then we got a version of the Toyota Corolla. But besides that, we never got a Nissan Skyline, we never got a Nissan Silvia, and we never got the Mitsubishi Evo, which those cars were also in the Gran Turismo games because those were Japanese, I believe, Namco games. And that's really what started the current Japanese car boom here in America.
Yeah.
Is because now that we can import these cars 25 years later, we grew up watching them in the
It is
cartoons, we
very
played them in
true.
the games.
Very true.
Now I have the money, I can go buy one.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, who I will name off the podcast because he doesn't want people knowing he bought one.
Okay.
But he just bought a Japanese right-hand drive car to
Wow,
daily.
cool. Yeah.
One of my close friends, actually, and so I'm very excited about that.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that about the games, too, because I remember the first time you guys were playing some video game, and
Probably
I think
Forza 2, I would imagine.
might have been, and the Skyline came up, and I was
Yeah.
like, what the heck is a
Yeah.
Skyline? I'm like, we don't have Skylines here.
Yeah.
What is that? Is this some made-up car
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
game?
yeah.
But it was very cool that they did that.
I'm very excited to have my friend bring the car by the house because
Oh,
it's
definitely,
not a
yeah, that would
Skyline.
be cool. Oh, okay.
Something of that.
Well, then I don't want to see it.
Well, well,
I'm
I
kidding.
forget when
I'm
this episode
kidding.
is coming out. My friend, you remember Matt from the shop? Yes. No?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
So he bought a Nissan, I believe, Gloria. It's a huge sedan, really big sedan.
Really?
Right-hand drive, turbo V6, I believe. We never got them here. Like we didn't even get a version of them here. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
not like
funny.
it's
That's
not
funny.
like
We
we
didn't-
got something with different headlights, which is a
Yeah.
very typical thing that
Yeah.
they do. We never even got any form of version of this car. So I can't wait to have him park it on the street and just have people
That'd be
drive
cool.
by and be like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah.
because
that's
it
very
doesn't
cool.
it doesn't have the typical Nissan badges either. It's like a square with a plus sign in the middle. I don't know
Really?
why. It was like they were like more luxury oriented, but only for Japan. Very cool.
That's
Anyway, yeah.
wild.
So the
That'll be
Japanese cars are
interesting to
great.
see. Yeah.
But yeah. So I just want to mention that we basically didn't get most of these cars, which
Yeah.
again sort of fueled our American need to now have these cars. But we have the 25-year import law, where you cannot import a vehicle older than or you cannot import a vehicle younger than 25 years old
Okay.
without jumping through 1.5 million hoops.
Mhm.
So yeah, now that these cars are becoming 25 years old, so here in 2021, we can buy 1996 cars.
Wow.
So
Okay, yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess now you can buy an Evo 3
Huh.
here in the States because this is a 95. So
All
technically
right.
we could
It's
import that here.
very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, so
Yeah, that's awesome.
I do have a little bit of trivia.
Good. All right.
And by a little bit, I mean 2. IMDb had 1, and I added one of my
Wow.
own because I
Okay,
watched a behind-the-scenes
Oh,
video.
Good. Good.
So
Yep.
number 1
All right.
is 3 new Toyota AE86 Sprinter Terrenos, a car out of production since 1987, were especially built by Toyota for the film. So Toyota built 3 AE86s for the film, brand new.
Really?
So those were like brand new cars.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
very
other
cool.
one was the actor who played Bunta
Mm-hmm.
was drunk for most of the film.
No.
So when he read the script, his first and only request was to have real alcohol on set. And they said that every morning they would just give him a bottle of sake, and the next morning they would just give him another bottle of sake.
Because it was sake. I mean, that's what he was
Yeah,
drinking.
yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
Which
Wow.
yeah. So in the not the documentary, the behind the scenes video that I saw on YouTube, he was like he's like, only makeup can only go so far to make you act a certain way. You have to really live it. And I'm like, it seems like the guy was just a drunk. And then
Seems like a convenient way
when
to.
he's hitting Takumi
Yeah.
in the movie, he's
Yeah.
hitting him.
Yeah.
He's like hitting the actor for real, and the actor was like, I forget his name. Hold on. Jay, who
Okay.
plays Takumi.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, he was really hitting me, but he was like, I was beat as a kid, so it was fine. It wasn't anything. I was like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh. That's
But
awful.
the actress who played the girlfriend
Mhm.
said in the documentary that she felt very safe on set.
Good.
With the directors and stuff.
Yeah.
Which apparently isn't like a very common thing for actresses. Of course, I have no personal experience with that, being a guy, but
Yeah.
which that was cool to see in the behind the scenes. One
Yeah.
thing I totally forgot to mention, and
Mhm.
something I wanted your take on.
Yeah.
I have written in my notes, but I skipped over because I got so excited by the speed chime talk.
Yeah. that was very interesting.
This movie's very stylized.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
I
Yeah,
wanted to
I
talk to
noticed
you
that.
about speed ramping,
Yeah.
freeze frames,
Yep.
and the car chase shots that we talked about off
Yes.
camera.
Yes.
Off audio.
There are all 3 of those things all
Mhm.
over the place. Some of it
Mm-hmm.
was like, please don't do that in this
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
I was like, please don't.
I
yeah.
thought the freeze frames were too much.
Yes.
The speed ramping I could kind of get. I was okay
Yeah.
with the speed ramping. Actually, well, I guess it should make me okay with the freeze frames as well. That's very much an anime thing. Of like
Oh,
someone who's
yeah.
30 feet away, and then in 2 drawn frames, they're up in the camera for comedic effect or for something else.
True.
And the freeze frames is very much an anime thing too, like a close
Yeah, I
up.
could see that.
But then normally they add like a sound effect, like a dong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I totally understand.
I
know
feel
what
like
you
they
mean, yeah.
sort of half dove into making it look fully anime. You know what I mean? Like a lot as close to an anime as a live action movie can be.
Okay. So in saying that, I have a better appreciation. I'm glad you said that because I have
Okay.
a better appreciation for the movie and those effects that they used because it was more stylized according to the anime.
Right.
That makes more sense to me now because while I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, come on. Don't do it for this scene. Please don't."
Yeah.
I was waiting. We're watching this. I'm watching the scene, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
please. Don't.
Well, like I said, I think they should have pushed it a little bit further.
Okay.
Whether that be adding like text bubbles or adding
yeah.
the lines on their cheeks to show that they're blushing or something of the sort. You know what I mean though.
No, I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean, though. But yes, that's the true thing. There's a blush on the cheeks. Is
Yeah,
definitely
it's the
a
lines.
giveaway.
Yeah.
The other thing that we were talking about, besides the speed ramping,
Right.
which is a legitimate effect, which
Mhm.
is I've seen a lot of movies do that. It can be an extremely cool and useful effect. Also, the freeze frame, I don't see that very much anymore. But the scenes are the actual behind the car, the car shots. So
There's a couple in front of the car too, but yeah.
Yes. Now I was trying to figure out honestly how they did that. It had to be CG. It had to be that the camera was mounted to the car.
Yeah.
And then they CG'd painted out the connection to the car. The reason why I say that is, did you notice there's actually one scene at night where you're behind the car and all of a sudden, no kidding, the car like a ghost disappears and then comes back.
Oh, no.
It actually completely disappears and comes back.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't see that.
I'll have to show you because it is so bizarre. I couldn't like get my mind around it because
the shot that we're talking about, there's a couple of driving shots where the camera is very clearly mounted to the car because the car is 100% stationary.
Yes.
It's driving, but the chassis body of the car remains in the exact same position in the frame. And like as it hits like bumps and stuff, the camera looks like it's attached to the car,
Absolutely.
but you cannot see where it's attached to the car because you see the full car.
Yes.
Like there's no bar connecting it to the car, that would obviously be needed in order to get a shot like that.
It is absolutely needed, and I believe that's exactly how they did it. They did a bar, but then they CG painted it out.
So that makes more sense because there's also another really cool shot that I kind of understand how they did it. But there's a lot of shots where the camera moves through the rear window.
Yeah.
It had to have been CG.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why...
Or blending of shots, but still.
Yes, but I believe that's one of the reasons why. In fact, Talladega Nights that we did the last time had the same exact shot where they went through the window of the car and continued the shot all the way through. So... Yes, that's when I realized, wait a minute, these guys did have a budget for CG.
They had to have, yeah.
They had to have.
And unfortunately, I searched the internet for behind the scenes. I only found one YouTube video, and it said part 2 of 2. But there was no part 1 of 1, or 1 of 2.
Okay. Also, there are some cameras, I believe, there are some cameras now that are like the 360 cameras that will automatically take out the stick or whatever, the connection.
Oh, I've seen those. However, that's here in 2021. This movie came out in 2005, so probably shot in 2004.
Well, if they had a time machine.
Right, if they had a DeLorean.
Which was totally doable.
They had it in 2015.
They did. Well, they had it
back in
apparently
a thin magazine that said every single
1985. They had the DeLorean.
But again, the shot of moving the camera through the car, very anime. Because I remember in the original anime show, there's a shot where it moves through the car, and it's the RX-7, and it goes through the hood, and you see the 2 rotors spinning and exploding inside the engine,
right?
And then it goes through, like the Fast and Furious, where it goes like in and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
Whatever. There's a shot like that.
I would
which
love
is really,
to
really
see
cool.
a movie where like the camera goes inside the engine, and then it kind of like just makes a detour, and there's like a mouse eating some cheese next to the engine or something as a joke, you know.
Or if it's a Subaru, there's just coolant pissing out of the head gaskets. Yeah,
exactly. Or there's little tiny people like making the engine go.
Like little on a wheel.
Like hamsters on a wheel inside. That would be like how
that would be great.
The Chevy Chevette would work like that. Yeah, the hamsters on a wheel. So yes. Anyway,
that's all I have for this movie.
Okay.
What are your final thoughts? I love the movie. I love the anime. I love. It's all good. It's all good.
I could not tell that. From the fact
how much I talked.
How much you knew about. Well, I am amazed.
I could delete your audio track out of this podcast, and nothing would change.
And you will.
Well, I might, but I mean, honestly, viewers. Or listeners would not notice a difference. I think I talked too much.
No, I think it was great, and I loved hearing about it. I know it's so cool to me how passionate you are about it, and I know that you love it so much.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there's nothing I want to do more than jump in my car and just go drive after watching this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously one of the main cool things about this whole movie, too, is the major drifting. I mean,
Yeah.
just
That's the other thing we didn't really
yeah.
talk about. This kind of not single-handedly, but definitely sparked drifting.
Okay. Yeah.
Back in the 90s, drifting wasn't a thing. It was
Yeah,
something you
true. I
kind
don't
of did
remember
in the
that. Yeah.
mountains.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna butcher his name. I think it's Kenshi.
Okay.
Basically, there's a Japanese guy who's world renowned as the Drift King.
Yeah.
He is the best drifter. He's the king. He's literally a god of drifting. He can make anything slide.
Really?
And he came
Wow.
up in the 90s in like touring car championships and stuff, and he was notable, like Takumi. A lot of this is based off of Kenshi.
Oh.
Of the fact of touring car championships, racing championships,
Mm-hmm.
you would see him sliding corners.
Wow.
And drifting in racing events, which was unseen. And I think he's accredited for the. Oh no, maybe that's Top Gear. There's a saying of
Okay.
I'm mixing it up
That's
now.
right. That's okay.
With
Yeah.
the saying at least, Kenshi's
Yeah.
definitely the but there's a saying of he who is last is sideways and smiling. So like drifting is not the fastest way to get around
Right.
a racetrack.
Yeah.
But they're having the most fun.
Yes. Well, because here in the Midwest,
Yeah.
especially, if you got like we had a pickup truck
Yeah.
with no weight over the rear wheels.
Oh, in the
you were
winter,
drifting,
yeah.
You were drifting big time, and
Yeah.
that you just got used to that. And in the Midwest, we drive, we drift.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is just the way it is in the winter. But we know how to do it.
Yeah.
Unlike some other states that get snow
Yeah.
every once in a while and
Yeah.
freak
Shout
out.
out Georgia and Texas.
But no, I mean, if you don't grow up that way, but
yeah.
that was,
So
I remember that was one of the things though, is I had you guys go out and do that because I wanted you guys to drift.
at a pool parking lot, and I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah,
I got to the point where
I wanted you to be a drift king.
Well,
That's what I was hoping for. That you'd be.
I was the drift king in the video game Juiced 2 Hot Import Nights. I
Wow.
drifted an
Okay.
RX-8, and I was so good at that game.
Really?
I was very good.
Wow.
But I got pretty good drifting in real life.
Yeah.
With the truck because it had such a long wheelbase.
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
lethargic drifting.
Yep.
Where
Very
you'd,
much
you'd
so.
flick it out, a
Yeah.
Scandinavian flick, if you will.
Really?
That's what the move is
All
called.
right. Okay.
And you would just feather the throttle,
Yeah.
and it would just stay
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
then you just lightly kind of point
Yeah.
if you're sliding too much, you point your wheels the other way, you
Yeah.
know,
Totally.
um,
That's what happened.
which is very different from drifting an RX-7. I
I'm
have
sure.
drifted the RX-7.
I'm sure.
It's
though.
very snappy, very twitchy, very
Yeah.
I'm this way, I'm this way, I'm this way, I'm this way.
Yeah.
Where the truck was a
Well,
19-foot long Dodge Ram.
In the winter snow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
about, like you said, it's a long, slow drift.
Yeah, it's
you
like
could
drifting
drive
a Crown Vic.
sideways.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
could,
I used to crab
Yeah,
walk down
yeah.
our cul-de-sac and then
yeah.
just flick it the other way
Yeah.
and throw it into the driveway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Proud of you.
yeah, thank you. So this, I mean, I was good at it until I wasn't. I did hit a pole one time.
Yeah, it happens.
One time,
It
trying
happens.
to impress a girl.
It happens.
She didn't call me.
Whatever.
Rest in peace, sophomore year
Okay.
of high school. Anyway,
Well-
this kicked off drifting in like drifting culture really.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s, these kids were doing this, and it was not commonplace. Like now, I mean, I've been to I went to
yeah.
3 drift events
Well,
last
we did
year.
at SEMA.
Yeah,
they had
drifting at
drifted-
SEMA.
drifting
Oh
at
yeah,
SEMA,
yeah.
yeah,
They had
remember that?
I
mean,
mean, drifting with
so-
cobras too.
So much so that literally the smoke from the tires was so thick you couldn't even
Oh yeah,
see
the
them
Hoonigan
anymore.
booth at SEMA. Yeah,
it was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
so fun. I mean,
that
the
was fun.
the smell of now burnt tires.
rubber, yeah.
Well, just gives me such a nostalgia for like the final bout events I used to go up to.
Okay.
In Wisconsin, which actually there's a final bout event this fall. Actually it'll be in a couple days after this
yeah.
podcast comes out.
Right.
Um
Yeah, there you go.
but yeah, just the best. I mean, drifting is so fun. Drifting is the last motorsport that is truly based around fun
Yeah.
because it's not based around lap times.
Yeah.
And your car doesn't have to be exact in order to do it.
True.
There are definitely things you can do. You can put an angle kit on it. You can weld the differential. You can obviously slam it on
okay.
coilovers, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, tires. There are things that matter, and there are competitions. There's Formula Drift. There's big money competitions. But it's the last like grassroots thing that I think is actually just it's based in lighthearted fun.
Yeah.
Um, going to the final bout events and stuff, my friends drift in there. They hit a wall and knocked their rear bumper off, smashed their rear tail light. They're like, look at that. That was fun. Like, it's
True.
one of the last, like,
Yeah.
truly fun motorsport events where, like,
Yes.
Spec Miata's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of fun. It's fun when it's like a dialed in. It's a more mature fun where, like, drifting is, like, literally just kids drifting in parking lots have now been given a stage and they won't get yelled at.
Right.
Right. So I really do believe that drifting is one of the last truly just purely fun, stupid automotive experiences you can have.
Yep.
So
I think so.
Would you change the channel?
Would I change it? No, I wouldn't change the channel because only, I guess, out of appreciation for the movie.
Yeah.
I definitely would not try to like read the subtitles and follow along. But if I watched it again and it came on or it was on, I would definitely like keep an eye on it and watch it, especially like the drift scenes and stuff and the racing scenes. I mean, those are fun. The one accident scene where it was like the GTR that like crashed down. Do you remember that the black GTR just like it was a GTR crash?
Might have been the Evo.
Maybe it was the Evo. It was the Emperor team.
Oh, then it was an Evo. Yeah,
Okay.
It was an Evo. Yeah.
But he like literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like, he literally drops in front of the camera. And that actually shocked me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, it startled me. And then he just gets out of the car, which is great.
Right.
Which I love that.
Yeah,
that he just gets out of the car. Everybody's fine.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that was actually very cool about the movie, too. And I know we talked about respect and everything for human life, but that was cool that, like, there wasn't this, crazy stuff.
Yeah, I do like Initial D because, especially in the cartoons, I don't think anyone dies. I don't think it's not like
I don't think so.
There are accidents and crashes and stuff, but it hurts egos more than it hurts people. And they do deal with some real issues too. In the later seasons, there's a guy who has a Roadster, which is a NA Miata, a red NA Miata.
Really?
Yeah. But he keeps racing, and his girlfriend sits him down at a diner, and she's like, "We can't afford this anymore."
Oh.
And he's like, "I just need one more race. I just need one more race."
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and it's a sort of back and forth
yeah.
of this guy who's addicted, and he's like,
Okay.
I just gotta order this strut bar. That's what will help me win, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And the later seasons of Initial D aren't nearly as strong as the first few, but they're still good nevertheless.
So what about you then? Would you change the channel?
I would not change the channel. But like you said, I don't think I would sit down and read the subtitles.
Yeah.
However,
yeah,
I think even without the subtitles, I think this is a very strong movie.
I agree.
The actors are expressionate enough, if that's a word. They express well enough.
Yes.
Their feelings and emotions, and of course, I mean, cars. You don't really need subtitles for that. The cool racing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I wish I would move this to a sit down if it had the soundtrack from the anime series.
Oh, really?
I have nearly the full soundtrack from the anime series on my phone right now. I can play you any song from the TV show. I have it ready and queued up.
Wow.
Yes.
I
have going into my Spotify here for a second.
Shout out to Spotify.
Shout out Spotify, which hopefully will be on by the time this podcast comes out.
Yes, which would be great.
Go to my library. Wait, I have a notification from Spotify. The heck? Okay, well. So I have a bunch of playlists. I like naming my playlists fun things.
You sounded just like Will Ferrell. I like naming my Spotify things. I'm the greatest there ever was.
What the? Yeah, I'm the greatest there ever is.
I'm the greatest there is.
I'm the best there is. I wake up in the morning. I piss excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. They changed the order of all. What?
What?
They changed the order of all my music, the playlists, whatever. Anyway, so I have a playlist on Spotify that is titled "Driving Shitty Mazdas Way Too Fast."
Wow. Okay. Right.
Because I've owned a lot of Mazdas that are not in best condition.
True.
And it's almost all the Initial D soundtrack.
Okay.
Blackout running in the 90s.
Yeah.
Is like the Initial D song, and it's fantastic. It's so good.
Well, I'm gonna have to hear these.
It's like a mix between electronic dance music and the Mario music, like when you hit a star in Mario Kart, and it's like dan, 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 dan.
Ah,
It's
okay.
kind of like that. Back on the Rocks is another great one. Gas, Gas, Gas is an amazing one. And
your
Deja
background.
Vu is really good too. All from the soundtrack.
Need your background beat.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I would sit down if it had the Euro beat.
Yeah.
Sign
Okay.
me up.
All right. All right.
But yeah, I
Sounds
would
good.
sit down. So
All right.
we're getting right at that time.
We are.
Thank you guys for listening to the initial
Yes.
D. What is our next movie?
Next movie. Okay, you ready for this?
Have I seen it?
You may have actually
Okay.
seen it. I have not.
Okay.
And here's the thing: is I don't even know. This was actually suggested by a friend. Shout out Jory. I'm going to break the rules. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to make it 2 movies.
Okay.
We're going to review 2 movies that are
Okay.
exactly the same movie.
Okay.
All right. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Ooh.
So there's the 1974 version and the 2000 version.
Right. So the 2000 version's on Amazon.
The
Is the original as
the
well?
1974.
They're both on
That's
Amazon
what I was
Prime.
looking at. Yeah.
I
so,
did
yeah.
notice that Gone in 60 Seconds
Yep.
was put on Amazon, the new one, and I wanted to watch it. So
Yeah.
cool.
So that's what we're gonna do. Although you have to
Interesting.
rent that one.
Okay.
The Gone in 60 Seconds, the new one you have to rent, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the old one actually is on Prime, and you can actually watch that. So
I don't
74.
know if we have to rent the new one. I
you
thought
sure?
they put the new one on streaming.
Well,
Anyway,
maybe,
whatever.
anyway.
We're going to get it both on Amazon.
But
That
but
doesn't
what
matter for you listening.
glad you're listening in
Yeah.
on that. So
Okay.
here's the deal:
Yeah.
is that I want us both to
Yeah.
watch the 1974
God,
version.
you're going to make me watch it again.
Which wait, have you seen the 74 version?
I tried.
Oh, really? You tried?
It was
Oh.
slow.
Oh, okay.
I think I talked to you about this because I was like,
You may
were
have.
all 70s movies just like filmed on molasses? Like, what's going on?
Believe me, over time, yes, movies have gotten much faster paced.
Maybe that is just my
Much
2021 attention span.
No, really, they have
'Cause
gotten.
I'm like the youngest person you know.
I am. You are.
Yeah. What? Man, you're sundowning hard.
Wow.
All right.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm
anyway,
excited.
So let's do because I want to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
1974 to 2000
Okay.
with Nicolas Cage. And the difference between the
Might be a
two.
long podcast. Gonna be a long
Well,
podcast.
Well, it would at least let's give it a try. We've never
Yeah,
done
let's
this.
do
where
it.
we
Yeah,
did,
let's
like,
do a
two
double feature. Why not?
2 versions of the exact same
Next
movie.
Saturday, you're getting a double feature. How about
That's
that?
right. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I'm excited.
So, yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a remake, right? It's not like a sequel. Okay.
Well, as far as I know,
As far-
like,
yeah,
I
as
have
far as we
not
know.
seen the Nicolas Cage version.
All I know is that
I haven't seen it.
Eleanor
Yeah.
from the first movie
hmm
is like a BS thing. It doesn't matter.
It's a Mach 1.
Yeah, it's like meh. Eleanor from
it's a
the
Mach-
second movie,
I know,
which
it's
I am
okay.
scared to even say the name.
Right.
Eleanor.
Yeah.
The car. For
I know.
evil somewhere bitch
Yeah.
reasons.
Wow.
I really
Yikes.
don't like her.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
We'll say the car, the
The car
silver
that you're not
Mustang.
in. Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. Let's do it.
Well, we could just call it L.
Ooh,
We just
Stranger
say L.
Things.
Yeah, exactly.
Season 4
right.
coming.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know
Is
why.
it? Is season 4 coming from Stranger Things?
Yeah, they're filming it right now.
Cool.
Actually, I just saw on TikTok someone was driving by
The Ticks
like,
and the Talks.
the Ticks and the Talks.
Mhm.
Someone was driving by their local high school and they were
Yeah.
repainting Hawkins on it, and they had like
Oh.
80s cop cars out front.
Nice.
Which
Like
was super
that.
cool.
Like that.
Um,
So okay, so we will do that for
Yeah.
the next one, and then yeah.
and then
we'll
I actually have
check
our next movie after that.
You
picked
do?
Out. I do.
it. Okay.
I'm super excited about it. So
I have, and then I think I have the next movie after that. So
Oh,
we're all
geez,
good.
wow.
So yeah, we're like ahead. We're like advanced.
Advanced Auto Parts.
Shout out.
Shout out. Oh! No, I'm just kidding. Not
That's
O'Reilly's.
O'Reilly.
No shout out to
oh.
O'Reilly's.
Why?
I don't know. My
Oh.
parts are supposed to be here tomorrow for the
Oh,
RX-7,
cool.
hopefully,
That's
from
nice.
O'Reilly's. So if they're not here tomorrow,
Yeah.
as I ordered them,
Yeah.
no shout out to O'Reilly's.
Okay.
Thank you guys so
All
much
right.
for listening to the
Yep.
Unnamed Movie Car Podcast. Please subscribe. I don't know if it's on Spotify yet, so if it is,
If
cool.
it is, that's cool. Wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, okay. Okay, goodbye. Thanks for
All
listening.
right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.